first hunt. And you've come to the most dangerous planet in the universe.
Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use.
The Predator franchise has always stood as a cinematic icon of survival, fear, and primal conflict between man and the ultimate hunter. With Predator Badlands 2025, this legendary saga finds itself reborn for a new generation, merging nostalgia for the classic 1987 film with the intense storytelling and technological brilliance of modern cinema. The return of the Predator legacy in 2025 is more than just a sequel. It's a resurrection of one of Hollywood's most fearsome creatures, a creature that has haunted audiences for nearly 4 decades. What makes Badlands unique is how it honors the DNA of the original while fearlessly evolving into something darker, deeper, and more psychologically charged. From its very first frame, Predator, Badlands announces that it's not here to replicate old thrills, it's here to redefine them. The film opens with a chilling panoramic view of an isolated desert wasteland, bathed in amber sunlight and shadows that hide unimaginable horrors. Unlike the dense jungles of the original film, the Badlands provide an open battlefield, where there's nowhere to hide, no canopy to protect the prey, and every movement becomes a matter of life and death. This shift in setting immediately signals the creative ambition behind this installment: to strip away the camouflage and expose the raw, unfiltered brutality of the hunt. The return of the Predator itself is treated like an event. When the creature finally appears on screen, audiences are struck not only by its terrifying presence but by how it feels both familiar and brand new. The design of the Predator in this film pays homage to the classic mandibles, dreadlocks, and heat vision aesthetics that fans adore, yet introduces subtle enhancements that make it feel evolutionary. Its armor is sleeker, more adaptive, with a skin camouflage system that integrates alien biotechnology far beyond human understanding. The sound design amplifies every breath, growl, and click, giving the Predator a haunting sense of life. Each sound carries a weight that reminds viewers why this creature has terrified generations. But beyond the surface of the creature's appearance, Predator, Badlands redefines what the Predator represents. In earlier films, the Predator was a silent hunter, an apex alien guided by a code of honor. Here the film delves into its psychology. Through scattered fragments of its rituals and hunting trophies, the story reveals glimpses of a complex culture, a civilization that sees Earth not merely as a hunting ground, but as a proving arena. The Badlands, with their history of human violence and buried secrets, become the perfect reflection of both predator and prey. Humanity's own destructive nature mirrors that of the alien hunter, and that thematic symmetry becomes one of the film's greatest strengths. The legacy aspect of the film shines through its connection to past installments. Subtle references tie Badlands to the 1987 original starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, and to later entries like Predator 2 and The Predators, 2010. Artifacts, recordings, and even scars left behind by earlier encounters appear as haunting reminders of past hunts. The movie never leans too heavily on nostalgia, but it uses these echoes as emotional anchors. Longtime fans feel rewarded, while new audiences are introduced to the mythology in digestible, visually driven moments. It's a careful balance, one that proves the filmmakers understand the franchise's weight. The title, Badlands, is itself symbolic. In American mythology, the Badlands represent isolation, danger, and beauty mixed with death. Translating that into the Predator universe creates an atmosphere unlike any other in the series. Gone are the dense, humid jungles. Instead, the arid wind carries the whispers of the dead, and every shadow on the canyon wall could be a movement of the unseen hunter. This setting transforms the narrative tone, evoking Western vibes fused with sci-fi horror, almost like Mad Max colliding with Predator. The result is both cinematic and primal. Another critical factor in reviving the legacy is the human element. Predator. Badlands introduces a new protagonist, a battle-hardened ex-soldier named Cole Mercer, who embodies the grit of Dutch from the original film, but brings a modern emotional depth. Mercer isn't just fighting for survival. He's confronting his past sins, his trauma, and the moral question of what it means to be human in a world where survival blurs with savagery. Through Mercer, the film explores themes of guilt, redemption, and the instinct to kill, drawing parallels between man and monster. His team of mercenaries adds layers of personality and tension, each member representing a different facet of humanity: fear, greed, loyalty, and sacrifice. The pacing of the film is a masterclass in tension. The first act builds atmosphere through mystery and unease. The second act erupts into chaos as the Predator begins its hunt, picking off the team one by one in gruesome yet methodically artistic ways. The final act becomes a psychological duel between hunter and hunted, culminating in a confrontation that feels earned and inevitable. This structure mirrors the 1987 classic, but updates it with tighter editing, modern cinematography, and the emotional gravitas expected from today's blockbusters. The cinematography deserves special mention in discussing the Predator's return. The use of thermal imagery, drone shots, and infrared filters isn't just for spectacle, it's storytelling. Every frame feels alive with tension. The camera frequently shifts perspective between human and predator, giving audiences both the hunted's fear and the hunter's precision. The use of natural light enhances realism. The Badlands glow under a merciless sun by day and dissolve into a haunting red twilight at night. This visual poetry reinforces the film's thematic core. Nature is beautiful, but it is also brutal. A major part of continuing the Predator legacy lies in how Badlands treats its creature, not as a mere villain, but as a reflection of evolution itself. The Predator adapts, it studies, it learns. The film cleverly introduces new biological traits such as regenerative tissue and micro-AI embedded armor that blur the line between organism and technology. These innovations make the Predator feel like a living weapon that has evolved through centuries of intergalactic warfare. And yet, despite all its advancements, its core remains primal, the thrill of the hunt. That paradox is the beating heart of the franchise. Music and sound also play a crucial role in reviving the Predator identity. The film's score, composed by Bear McCreary, fuses tribal drums and futuristic synths to create an auditory experience that bridges the old and new. When the Predator's clicking sound merges with the drum beat, it evokes both terror and nostalgia. Sound is used not just as background but as language. Silence, in particular, becomes deafening in the moments before each kill. From a thematic standpoint, Predator. Badlands revisits what has always made the franchise compelling: man's confrontation with a force beyond comprehension. It's not just a monster movie, it's a study of human fragility. The legacy that began in 1987 has always carried that underlying message. The Predator may be alien, but its brutality exposes the beast within us. In Badlands, that theme is sharper than ever. The desolate desert mirrors the emptiness of humanity's moral core, where survival has become an excuse for destruction. Another remarkable aspect of this legacy revival is the practical effects craftsmanship. While CGI is used extensively for environments and invisibility effects, the Predator itself is largely portrayed using prosthetics and animatronics. This decision pays off in realism. Viewers can feel the weight, the texture, and the menace of the creature as it moves through the frame. The tactile nature of the performance, combined with cutting-edge motion capture, grounds the spectacle in authenticity. It's a conscious callback to the craftsmanship that made the original Predator unforgettable. What truly cements the return of the Predator legacy is the film's ability to terrify without relying solely on gore. The horror emerges from anticipation, the sound of breathing in the dark, the shimmer of invisible movement, the realization that something intelligent and merciless is watching. The film taps into primal fears, isolation, helplessness, and the inevitability of death. These universal emotions make the Predator myth timeless. Moreover, Badlands repositions the Predator as a metaphor for modern existential threats. Just as the 1987 film reflected Cold War paranoia, the 2025 installment reflects our technological anxieties and environmental collapse. The Badlands setting itself, once fertile land turned barren, serves as an allegory for a world consumed by human greed. The Predator's hunt becomes symbolic of nature's retaliation. In this way, the film achieves something profound. It transforms a sci-fi monster into a mirror of humanity's self-destruction. By the time the credits roll, Predator, Badlands has achieved what few reboots manage. It rekindles awe. Fans leave the theater remembering why the Predator was never just another creature feature. It was a myth, a legend of survival, a reminder of the thin line separating hunter and prey. The film doesn't just revive the legacy. It redefines it for a generation that craves realism, emotion, and spectacle in equal measure. In conclusion, Predator, Badlands 2025 isn't merely the continuation of a franchise. It's the reaffirmation of why the Predator remains one of cinema's most enduring icons. Through masterful storytelling, haunting visuals, and reverence for its roots, the film proves that some legends never die. They evolve. And as the sun sets over the crimson dunes of the Badlands, one truth remains eternal. The hunt will always continue. The hunt will always continue. In Predator Badlands 2025, the story wastes no time in immersing viewers into a world that feels both ancient and futuristic, a land carved by nature's cruelty and haunted by the echoes of humanity's violence. The film opens with a haunting prologue, a lone Predator ship entering Earth's atmosphere, streaking across the crimson sky above the American Southwest. Its descent is silent but devastating. As the craft crashes into the arid desert terrain, the scene cuts to black, accompanied only by the Predator's signature clicking growl, a chilling reminder that the hunt has begun once again. The narrative officially begins months later, when a private military contractor discovers strange readings deep within the Badlands National Reserve. The protagonist, Cole Mercer, a former special ops soldier turned survival instructor, is hired to lead an expedition into the restricted zone. Haunted by a tragic past and seeking redemption, Mercer reluctantly accepts, believing it's just another high-paying mission. But as his convoy enters the desert, it becomes clear that this is not an ordinary job. Something ancient, something lethal, has already claimed the Badlands as its territory. From the outset, Badlands crafts its tone through isolation. The endless desert is not just a backdrop. It's a character in itself, hostile, deceptive, and eerily silent. The film's cinematography captures the sheer magnitude of emptiness, emphasizing how small and vulnerable humans are in this vast expanse. The first act unfolds with Mercer's team exploring the ruins of an old military base, now buried beneath sand and decay. Strange claw marks line the walls, mutilated animal corpses hang from rusted metal beams, and an uneasy radio static hums in the background. Tension builds slowly, mirroring the psychological dread of the original Predator film, where the unseen enemy is always one step ahead. As the team delves deeper into the desert, they encounter the first signs of the Predator's presence. Thermal distortions appear in the distance, equipment malfunctions without explanation, and one of the soldiers mysteriously disappears during a nighttime watch. When his mutilated body is later discovered, skin flayed, spine removed, the entire team realizes they are being hunted. The discovery is gruesome yet methodical, symbolizing that their killer is not a beast but an intelligent, disciplined hunter. Mercer, who once survived an ambush in Afghanistan, recognizes the pattern of a calculated predator, but this time the enemy is beyond comprehension. The second act of the film is where the true essence of Badlands ignites. The predator reveals itself through fragmented glimpses, a shimmer in the heat, a distorted silhouette in the sandstorm, a flash of its tri-laser targeting reticle across the dunes. The film's sound design builds unbearable tension, with distant clicking and guttural growls echoing across the desert winds. Mercer's team, now fractured by fear and mistrust, splits up to cover more ground. A fatal mistake. One by one, they fall victim to the predator's superior tactics. Each death sequence is crafted uniquely, showcasing the creature's arsenal: plasma casters, retractable wrist blades, cloaking tech, and for the first time, a new bioplasmic whip that slices through bone like air. What makes Badlands' plot so compelling is its balance between relentless action and emotional depth. Mercer's leadership begins to falter as his team dwindles. He faces moral decisions that mirror his past failures, sacrificing others to survive. A subplot emerges around Dr. Lena Harker, a xenobiologist who believes the predator species has visited Earth for centuries. Her discovery of fossilized alien tech buried beneath the sands adds a layer of mythos. The Badlands were once an ancient battlefield between early predators and primitive human tribes. This revelation transforms the story from a simple survival thriller into a cosmic continuation of an age-old hunt. Midway through the film, Mercer and Harker stumble upon the predator's crashed ship, the same one from the prologue. Inside, they find a horrifying scene: dead bodies of rival predators indicating an internal conflict among their kind. This twist redefines the narrative. The predator stalking them isn't part of a hunting party. It's a lone warrior in exile sent to redeem itself through the ultimate hunt. This idea of redemption parallels Mercer's own journey, creating a psychological mirror between hunter and prey. Both are seeking absolution through violence, and both will only find peace through death. The climactic third act erupts when Mercer sets a trap, using himself as bait. The sequence is a masterclass in suspense, echoing the primal duel between Dutch and the original Predator in 1987. Mercer, stripped of advanced weapons, uses improvised tools, mirrors, fire, and sand traps to even the odds. The setting sun bathes the battlefield in a blood-red hue as the Predator deactivates its cloaking, revealing its full, terrifying form. The creature is massive, its armor scarred, its mandibles dripping with heat and rage. What follows is a brutal hand-to-hand confrontation, filmed with raw intensity and visceral sound effects. Every punch, roar, and gasp feels painfully real. As the fight rages, the Predator gains the upper hand, impaling Mercer and preparing to deliver a finishing blow. But in a final act of cunning, Mercer detonates a trap rigged with electromagnetic pulses from the wrecked ship. The blast disrupts the Predator's armor, leaving it vulnerable. In a symbolic echo of the first film, Mercer looks the creature in its eyes before driving a sharpened metal shard through its throat. The Predator's blood sprays across the sand, fluorescent green against the crimson landscape. It collapses, defeated but not dishonored. With its dying breath, the Predator activates a holographic recording that projects its history: scenes of ancient hunts, alien worlds, and fallen warriors. Mercer, bleeding and broken, watches in awe as he realizes he was never just prey. He was part of a ritual that transcends species and time. The final moments of the film are somber and reflective. Harker, the only other survivor, drags Mercer's body from the wreckage. As rescue helicopters approach in the distance, she looks back at the horizon, where another faint shimmer flickers in the heat. It's ambiguous, suggesting either another predator or the return of the same creature's kin. The camera pans upward to reveal the stars aligning in the same pattern, etched on the Predator's gauntlet, hinting that the hunt will continue elsewhere. The screen fades to black with the haunting click-click sound, reminding the audience that the cycle of predator and prey is eternal. The genius of Predator. Badlands' plot lies in its simplicity, enriched by depth. It's fundamentally a story about survival, but layered with themes of redemption, honor, and evolution. Mercer's journey mirrors humanity's eternal struggle: to overcome fear, to face consequences, and to confront the monsters we've created within ourselves. The Predator, once a faceless alien, becomes a symbol of that struggle, a reflection of human arrogance and primal instinct. From a pacing standpoint, the film's structure keeps audiences on edge. The first act builds mystery, the second ignites chaos, and the third delivers catharsis. Each segment escalates naturally, propelled by emotional stakes rather than cheap jump scares. The screenplay ensures that every death has meaning, every silence serves purpose, and every confrontation carries weight. Even the predator's motives, traditionally shrouded in mystery, gain emotional resonance here. It's not just hunting. It's seeking redemption for a failed mission, much like Mercer seeks redemption for his haunted past. Moreover, the decision to set the story in the Badlands gives the plot an almost mythic feel. The barren desert becomes a metaphor for inner emptiness, a place where civilization has stripped itself bare. Every grain of sand represents forgotten sins, every echo a memory of past violence. The landscape mirrors Mercer's mental state, fractured, desolate, and yet resilient. It's storytelling through environment, a technique that elevates the movie beyond typical action thriller territory. The subplot involving the Predator ship's crashed database is another brilliant narrative layer. Harker manages to decode fragments that reveal the existence of other hunting grounds across the universe. This sets up future sequels or spin-offs while maintaining narrative closure. The ending's open-endedness, marked by the faint shimmer in the horizon, serves as both an homage and an invitation. It tells viewers that the story isn't over. It has merely evolved, just as the predator species has over millennia. In its totality, Predator, Badlands offers a plot that honors the simplicity of the original survival structure while expanding the mythos into cosmic dimensions. It balances blood and brains, terror and thought, legacy and innovation. Every twist feels earned. Every revelation builds on the film's core theme, that the hunt is not just about killing, it's about testing the limits of existence itself. When the credits roll, audiences are left breathless, reflecting on the fine line between predator and prey, man and monster, guilt and redemption. Badlands may mark the next evolutionary step in the Predator saga, but its story reminds us of something timeless. No matter how advanced we become, we are all still being hunted by our past, by our fears, and by the primal laws of survival that govern every living thing in the universe. The setting of Predator, Badlands 2025, is more than just a backdrop. It is the lifeblood of the film, a living, breathing character that defines the mood, tone, and survival dynamics of the story. Where the original Predator, 1987, thrived in the claustrophobic humidity of the Central American jungle, Badlands thrives in the complete opposite, an open, sun-scorched expanse of desolation known as the American Southwest. This stark environmental shift transforms the entire cinematic language of the franchise, bringing a fresh psychological depth to the concept of the hunt. The Badlands are not just a location, they're an emotion, a symbol of emptiness, danger, and isolation, serving as the perfect evolution of the Predator's battleground. From the very first shot, the film announces its tone through its landscape. The camera glides over vast desert canyons, cracked earth, and crimson rock formations shaped by millennia of erosion. There's an eerie beauty to it all, a haunting quiet that feels both ancient and alien. The cinematography uses drone sweeps and wide angles to make viewers feel insignificant, as if they too are lost within this endless maze of dust and stone. It's a deliberate design choice. In the jungle, there were too many places to hide. In the Badlands, there are none. Every shadow, every shimmer in the distance could be the predator. The openness strips away comfort and exposes vulnerability, echoing the primal theme that man is never safe, no matter how vast the world around him may seem. The Badlands are not just random geography, they're chosen with narrative intention. The filmmakers reimagine this desolate region as the scarred remains of a forgotten military experiment, a restricted zone where weapon testing and ecological collapse have left behind a wasteland of silence. The once living Earth is now a graveyard of technology and bones. Rusted tanks lie half-buried under dunes. Crumbled watchtowers lean against blood-red cliffs, and the winds carry the whispers of the dead. It's the perfect hunting ground for the predator, open, brutal, and stripped of all humanity. This setting also serves as a reflection of the predator's ethos. The strong survive, the weak perish, and the land itself is the ultimate test of endurance. One of the most striking aspects of the Badlands is how the environment mirrors the inner turmoil of the characters. Cole Mercer, the film's protagonist, is a man broken by war and haunted by loss. His emotional state, barren, scorched, and unpredictable, is visually reflected in the landscape. The desert becomes an extension of his psyche, a place where survival means confronting the ghosts of the past. Every storm that sweeps across the horizon, every mirage that flickers in the heat becomes symbolic of his fractured memories and the thin line between reality and madness. This psychological layering gives Badlands a poetic quality uncommon in action films. It's not just a battle for life, it's a spiritual reckoning. The filmmakers utilize natural lighting to its fullest potential. Instead of relying heavily on artificial sources, they allow the harsh desert sun to become a visual weapon. The light burns through the frame, casting long skeletal shadows that distort reality. During the day, the heat haze creates optical illusions that disorient both characters and viewers. At night, the absence of light turns the world into a canvas of fear. The only illumination comes from flares, flashlights, and the predator's glowing targeting lasers. This constant play between blinding brightness and suffocating darkness keeps the audience in a perpetual state of unease. In Predator, Badlands, even nature becomes a predator. The sound design complements the visuals with eerie precision. Wind howls like an animal in pain, sand crunches beneath every cautious step, and the predator's faint clicks blend seamlessly with the whispers of the desert. When a sandstorm rises, a recurring motif in the film, it's both a natural phenomenon and a metaphorical veil. Within those swirling walls of dust, visibility drops to zero, and the line between hunter and hunted dissolves. The film's most intense chase sequences occur within these storms, where the predator's cloaking ability gives it near absolute advantage. The chaos of sand and wind becomes a sensory nightmare, blinding the characters and overwhelming the audience with noise and confusion. These sequences are not just visual spectacles, they are immersive experiences of panic and primal fear. The production design team took painstaking effort to make the Badlands feel authentic, yet alien. The location was chosen in remote parts of Utah and Arizona, where geological formations already possess otherworldly qualities. Minimal CGI was used for terrain, allowing real-world textures, cracked mud, sharp rock, and dry vegetation to ground the film's realism. However, digital enhancements subtly add an extraterrestrial undertone. Skies with slightly unnatural hues, constellations that seem to shift, and heat distortions that suggest something not entirely earthly about this place. The audience is never fully sure whether the Badlands are purely human soil or if the predator's past visits have altered the environment at a molecular level. This environmental storytelling extends even to the smallest details. Fossilized remains of massive creatures appear half buried in sand, hinting that this land has seen ancient battles, perhaps even prehistoric predator hunts. Strange symbols carved into rock walls echo the alien glyphs seen on predator armor, suggesting that the Badlands may have been a hunting ground for centuries. The blending of archaeology and science fiction gives the film an almost mythological undertone, transforming the predator's presence from random invasion to ritualistic return. This world feels lived in, cursed, and cyclical, a place where history repeats itself in blood. The costume and design of the human characters also adapt to the setting. Gone are the lush greens and camouflage patterns of earlier entries. In Badlands, characters wear sun-bleached tactical gear, dust-covered goggles, and makeshift armor pieced together from scavenged parts. Sweat, grime, and exhaustion become visual storytelling elements. The longer they survive, the more they blend into the desert, until by the final act they look as much a part of the wasteland as the rocks themselves. It's a subtle transformation, symbolizing how survival erodes civilization and reduces all creatures, human or alien, to their most primal form. One of the film's most iconic scenes showcases how environment dictates tension. Mercer and his team take refuge in an abandoned mine shaft during a sandstorm. The narrow tunnels contrast sharply with the openness of the desert, creating a sudden sense of claustrophobia. Here, the predator's thermal vision becomes useless due to geothermal heat pockets within the rock, forcing it to hunt by sound. The sequence flips the advantage, temporarily giving humans the upper hand. The oppressive darkness, mixed with the echoing drips of condensation and muffled breathing, recalls the jungle's close-quarters horror, but filtered through a new, grittier lens. When the storm outside subsides and the survivors emerge, they find the landscape changed. Sand dunes shifted, tracks erased, corpses buried. The desert resets itself as if erasing all traces of human existence. Thematically, the transition from jungle to badlands also symbolizes evolution, both of the predator species and the franchise itself. The jungle represented chaos and vitality, a space teeming with life. The badlands represent death and decay, a world stripped bare. By placing the predator in this barren environment, the film explores what it means for the hunter when there's almost nothing left to hunt. It becomes an existential setting. Even the apex predator must adapt or perish. This environmental metaphor extends to humanity as well. The badlands, once fertile, were destroyed by human greed and warfare. The predator's arrival, therefore, feels less like invasion and more like nature reclaiming balance. A cosmic reminder that the ultimate predator might just be the Earth itself. The cinematographer, Roger Deakins, inspired in style, captures the raw emotion of the desert with sweeping long takes. The horizon often dominates the frame, dwarfing characters and emphasizing their insignificance. Dust particles float in the sunlight like memories refusing to fade. During dawn scenes, the palette shifts to hues of orange and gold, symbolizing fragile hope. At dusk, the world bleeds red, foreshadowing violence. Every frame feels painterly, designed not only to tell a story but to make viewers feel the oppressive weight of the land. Music, too, plays a key role in defining the environment. Composer Bear McCreary incorporates tribal percussion that mimics the heartbeat of the earth itself. In scenes of quiet, the score fades into near silence. Only a low rumble like the breathing of a sleeping giant remains. This minimalistic approach allows the desert's natural ambiance to dominate, creating a constant auditory reminder that life in the Badlands is fragile, fleeting, and watched. Even the predator's behavior is influenced by this setting. In the jungle, it relied on camouflage and ambush. In the Badlands, it evolves its hunting style, using the terrain itself, reflective heat, dust storms, and echoing canyons to confuse prey. Its movements become slower, more deliberate, mirroring a big cat stalking across open plains rather than a phantom in foliage. This shift in tactics reinforces the film's theme of adaptation. Both hunter and hunted are forced to evolve or die beneath the unforgiving sun. The Badlands setting also allows for some of the most visually stunning kills in the franchise. In Predator, Badlands 2025, the film's power lies not only in its monstrous antagonist, but in the human characters who define the emotional and moral stakes of the story. Every character has been carefully constructed to reflect a different facet of humanity: courage, fear, vengeance, and survival instinct. The film deliberately introduces a small, diverse cast rather than an ensemble of disposable soldiers, making each role meaningful and essential to the plot's evolution. The protagonist, Captain Mara Quinn, is the soul of the movie. A battle-hardened ex-military strategist, Mara has seen enough bloodshed to last a lifetime. She carries the trauma of losing her unit in a previous covert mission, an event she blames on herself. This guilt fuels her relentless desire to face the unknown and atone for her past. Her leadership is built on instinct rather than orders. She listens to her gut more than to command chains, making her both a hero and a rebel. Actress Charlize Theron, rumored to be in the role, brings a stoic intensity to Mara, balancing authority with vulnerability. Mara's relationship with her team isn't just about hierarchy, it's about trust forged through shared suffering. Her evolution throughout the film mirrors humanity's resilience in the face of annihilation. Then there's Eli Vega, the tech expert whose nervous energy masks deep courage. Eli, played by Diego Luna, is not a fighter in the traditional sense. He's a survivor who uses intelligence as his weapon. He's the first to decode the predator's heat signature patterns and realizes the creature has evolved to hunt humans through their fear response rather than movement alone. His discovery changes the dynamic of the hunt, turning him from a side character into a key player. Eli represents the human brain against the predator's brute force, a battle of innovation versus instinct. The film's emotional depth also comes from Sergeant Lena Ortiz, a combat medic played by Journey Smollett. She's the moral compass of the team, constantly challenging the idea that violence is the only path to survival. Her compassion contrasts the brutal setting of the Badlands. When she's forced to face the predator head-on to save a wounded ally, Lena's courage transforms from empathy to ferocity. She embodies the theme that humanity's greatest strength is its empathy, even when facing extinction. Among the supporting characters, Reese Dalton, a survivalist who has lived off the grid in the Badlands for years, serves as the bridge between civilization and chaos. Portrayed by Boyd Holbrook, Dalton knows the terrain like the back of his hand, but his knowledge of the land comes with a curse. He's witnessed horrors that no one believes. His cryptic warnings early in the film foreshadow the predator's reappearance, and his rough demeanor hides a tragic backstory involving his missing family, likely victims of a prior predator hunt. Dalton's presence injects a haunting realism into the story. He's not just another gun-toting mercenary, but a broken man searching for closure. Of course, the true star, the silent terror, is the predator itself. In Badlands, the creature receives a significant redesign. This predator is sleeker, smarter, and deadlier than its predecessors. Its armor adapts dynamically to its environment, mimicking sand, rock, and even atmospheric distortion. The filmmakers describe it as a hunter reborn, capable of analyzing human tactics through AI-enhanced tracking systems. The mask design now features thermal holographic lenses, allowing the creature to see in multiple spectrums simultaneously. But what makes this predator distinct is its intelligence. It doesn't just hunt for sport anymore. It hunts to evolve. It's experimenting, testing humanity's defenses to prepare for a larger invasion hinted at in the film's closing scene. Adding complexity to the story is the corporate villain, Dr. Voss Keener, CEO of a private military contractor that has been tracking extraterrestrial life for profit. Played by Cillian Murphy, Keener is the embodiment of human greed. He sends Mara's team to the Badlands under the guise of a rescue mission, but his true goal is to capture the predator for weapons research. His arrogance blinds him to the danger he's unleashed, and his ultimate confrontation with the predator serves as poetic justice, science consumed by its own creation. Keener's cold intelligence and lack of empathy provide a chilling counterpoint to the predator's primal honor code. Supporting these core figures is Tess Kincaid, a journalist embedded with the unit, documenting the mission for a corporate propaganda campaign. She begins as an outsider, but transforms into a fighter when reality shatters her illusions. Tess's lens becomes the audience's eye. Through her camera, we witness not just the carnage but the unraveling of humanity under pressure. Her footage plays a key role in the film's third act when it's used to expose Keener's betrayal to the outside world. The chemistry among the characters builds a tension that feels raw and believable. Their dialogue isn't filled with cliched military banter. It's grounded in fear, humor, and shared trauma. Every interaction serves a purpose, either developing trust or revealing fractures in their unity. When characters die, and several do, their losses are deeply felt, not just visually shocking. The film's emotional stakes rise because we care about who survives, not just how they die. What truly sets Predator, Badlands apart is how it handles character evolution under extreme pressure. Each person reacts to fear differently. Mara becomes braver, Eli becomes sharper, Lena becomes deadlier, and Dalton becomes redemptive. These transformations make the movie not just a hunt for survival, but a study of human adaptability. By the film's climax, when only a few remain, it's clear that survival isn't about strength, it's about purpose. The Predator's role in all this isn't just antagonistic. The creature mirrors human flaws. It hunts not for sustenance but for dominance, much like humans exploit their environment. The film subtly suggests that the predator and mankind aren't so different after all. Both are driven by conquest, and both will destroy themselves in pursuit of superiority. This thematic parallel gives depth to the monster, elevating it beyond a mere killing machine. The relationships between these characters, especially Mara and Eli, whose bond evolves from tension to mutual respect, form the emotional backbone of the story. Their final scene together, where Mara risks herself to save Eli after he's wounded by a cloaked predator, encapsulates the film's heart, sacrifice, loyalty, and the refusal to surrender even in the face of an unstoppable enemy. Ultimately, Predator, Badlands 2025 thrives because of its human cast as much as its alien terror. Each character adds a unique texture to the survival narrative, transforming a simple action plot into a layered exploration of courage, guilt, and morality. By grounding the science fiction elements in authentic human emotion, the film ensures that when the blood spills and the dust rises, What remains isn't just the memory of violence, but the echo of humanity fighting to endure. In Predator Badlands 2025, one of the most striking evolutions in the franchise lies in the Predator's upgraded design and technological enhancements. This iteration of the extraterrestrial hunter redefines what fans have come to expect from the iconic creature, blending its primal savagery with hyper-advanced alien tech that feels terrifyingly real. The design team has reinvented the Predator not just as a killer, but as an apex evolutionary being, part biological weapon, part artificial intelligence. It's a reinvention that feels organic to the story, elevating the sense of dread to new heights. From the very first moment the creature emerges from the heat-warped desert haze, its presence is different. The classic bulky armor of earlier films has been replaced by a biomechanical exosuit, thinner yet more durable, forged from a material resembling obsidian and alien carbon fiber. This new armor adapts to temperature and terrain in real time. When the Predator moves through the blistering desert, the plates shimmer to deflect heat. When it stalks through shadow, the surface dulls to absorb darkness. It's camouflage on a molecular level. The armor also contains microscopic nanites that heal small punctures and burns almost instantly, making the creature nearly invulnerable to conventional weaponry. The mask design has undergone perhaps the most significant transformation. Gone are the familiar deep ridge mandibles and metallic grille, now replaced with an angular, almost ritualistic mask, etched with alien glyphs that faintly glow when the creature locks onto a target. The eyes pulse with alternating hues of crimson and violet, suggesting multiple vision modes beyond thermal imaging. A new technology called spectral convergence vision allows the Predator to layer different visual spectrums, heat, sound vibration, and pheromone trails, into one view. The result: no prey can hide, even behind walls or under thick terrain. This vision mode gives a sense of omnipresence, turning every environment into the Predator's hunting ground. The Predator's signature cloaking ability has also been reimagined. Instead of a shimmer or distortion effect, Badlands introduces quantum refraction camouflage, an advanced stealth system that bends both light and radio waves. This makes the Predator invisible not only to the naked eye, but also to drones, radar, and thermal scanners. However, the upgrade comes with a chilling side effect. It emits a faint, high-frequency hum, barely perceptible but psychologically unsettling to nearby humans. Characters begin to associate this ghostly hum with imminent death, adding a layer of psychological terror before the Predator even strikes. Weaponry has always been central to the Predator mythos, and in Badlands the creature's arsenal has evolved with brutal ingenuity. The classic wrist blades are back, but now they can extend into dual-edged plasma-infused swords capable of slicing through steel. The shoulder cannon, once the Predator's most iconic ranged weapon, has been replaced with a modular plasma gauntlet that adapts between energy bolts, tracking darts, and electromagnetic pulse waves. The film's most memorable sequence, where the Predator disables an entire convoy of armored vehicles in seconds, demonstrates the gauntlet's sheer versatility. Each kill is executed with surgical precision, highlighting not just physical power but tactical intelligence. The creature also wields a new weapon called the Preda Spear, a telescopic staff that channels kinetic energy through the ground. When thrust into the earth, it releases seismic shockwaves that destabilize terrain, forcing enemies out of hiding. The weapon is not just for combat, it's a hunting tool, a way to control the battlefield. Combined with motion-sensitive traps that can mimic the sound signatures of human distress calls, the Predator turns the Badlands into a living labyrinth of death. One of the film's deeper layers lies in how the Predator's technology interacts with its biology. The creature's blood, known for its luminescent green glow, now serves as a form of energy conductor. In several scenes, we see the Predator using its own blood to power or repair damaged weapons. This symbiosis between body and technology suggests an evolution beyond mere machinery. It's a species that merges flesh and metal seamlessly, an organism designed for perpetual adaptation. The implication is chilling. Every time humanity finds a way to fight back, the Predator genome evolves to counter it. Director Dan Trachtenberg, known for Prey 2022, brings this vision to life with gritty realism. Instead of CGI overkill, the film's effects rely heavily on practical suit work enhanced by digital detailing, giving the creature physical weight and presence. The movements are smoother, almost serpentine, contrasting with the heavy, lumbering gait of past predators. When it moves, you feel both grace and menace, like a lion stalking prey with absolute control. Its roars, recorded using a hybrid of animal growls and synthesized mechanical vibrations, make the predator sound both alive and machine-like, as if evolution itself has fused with technology. Beyond appearance and weaponry, Badlands dives into the cultural and psychological evolution of the predator species. This film presents the creature not just as a hunter, but as a bioengineered scout for a larger alien hierarchy. Through holographic projections and recovered alien data, the human characters learn that this predator is part of a faction known as the Primarch Hunters, tasked with testing Earth's defenses ahead of an impending invasion. Its technology isn't random, it's experimental. The creature records every kill, uploads data to its ship, and constantly refines its tactics. Each human opponent represents a new algorithm in its evolving hunt protocol. This revelation reframes the predator's intelligence. No longer a beast driven purely by ritual, it's a strategist, an apex mind wrapped in flesh. The film's tension escalates when the characters realize the predator is learning from them in real time, adapting to their countermeasures and outsmarting even the most advanced human tech. When Captain Mara Quinn's team uses EMP grenades to disable the predator's systems, the creature's armor self-reboots using bio-stored kinetic energy, a terrifying moment that shows just how unstoppable it has become. Even the predator's ship reflects this hybrid evolution. Hidden deep in a canyon, it's less a spacecraft and more a living organism. Its surface pulses with veins of molten light, and its corridors shift and realign like muscle tissue. When the creature returns to it for healing, we witness an eerie fusion ritual where the ship's organic walls reattach severed armor and regenerate damaged tissue. This biomechanical aesthetic connects directly to the predator's design philosophy: survival through integration. Thematically, the new technology serves a deeper metaphor. The predator's evolution mirrors humanity's obsession with technological advancement, always improving, always consuming, but losing fragments of its soul in the process. By the film's final act, it's clear that this new predator has become something even its ancestors might fear. A being so optimized for killing that it no longer hunts for sport, but for data. Each kill is an experiment, every battle a step toward perfecting the art of domination. The climactic showdown between Mara Quinn and the predator encapsulates the design's purpose. In the dim light of a sandstorm, the creature activates full stealth and shifts its armor into a reflective state, effectively becoming a phantom. Mara, using scavenged predator tech, manages to reverse its tracking signal, turning its own sensors against it. When the predator's mask finally shatters, revealing a face laced with metallic veins and synthetic musculature, the audience sees the horrifying truth. It's no longer purely biological. The evolution is complete. The predator has become its own machine. The film ends with a haunting image, the shattered mask lying half buried in the sand, its lenses flickering with fragments of recorded hunts. The camera lingers as the device reboots itself, scanning the horizon for movement. Even in defeat, the predator's technology endures, whispering a single truth: evolution never stops. In Predator, Badlands 2025, the creature's new design and technology aren't just cosmetic upgrades, they are the embodiment of the film's central theme: adaptation through domination. Every blade, every circuit, every growl represents the eternal struggle between predator and prey, man and machine, survival and extinction. By reimagining the alien hunter as both a relic of the past and a weapon of the future, the filmmakers have not only revitalized the franchise, but also redefined what it means to be the ultimate predator. From the very first frame of Predator Badlands 2025, it's clear that this is not just another entry in the long-running franchise. It's a brutal, unrelenting masterclass in action and survival filmmaking. Director Dan Trachtenberg, following up on his acclaimed Prey, crafts a world where every sound, every grain of sand, and every heartbeat carries tension. The Badlands setting transforms into both a physical and psychological war zone, where survival is not about brute strength, but about adapting faster than death can strike. The film opens with a pulse-pounding sequence that sets the tone. A convoy of mercenaries and scientists traverses the scorched desert, their vehicles cutting through dust storms under a dying sun. Without warning, their communication signals vanish. The air goes still. A faint shimmer ripples across the horizon, then chaos erupts. In less than a minute, the entire unit is decimated by an unseen force. The Predator's first attack is a symphony of precision and fear. Vehicles explode, soldiers are impaled, and bodies vanish into the storm. There's no triumphant score, only silence and panic. It's not an action sequence designed to thrill. It's designed to terrify. The action choreography in Badlands is visceral, blending modern tactical combat with survival horror. Unlike the high-tech warfare of previous entries, this film grounds its battles in raw desperation. Guns jam in the sand, drones malfunction in electromagnetic interference, and the characters must rely on primal instinct to fight back. The tension comes from limitation. Human technology, for once, is inferior. The Predator dominates through silence and patience, forcing the audience to experience the dread of being hunted. As the survivors regroup, the movie evolves into a deadly game of cat and mouse. Captain Mara Quinn leads her fractured team through canyons, caves, and skeletal remains of abandoned outposts. Each environment becomes a new test of survival, blending nature's brutality with the Predator's cunning. The Badlands are not just a backdrop, they're an active threat. Heat exhaustion, dehydration, and hallucinations blur the line between predator and prey. The cinematography captures this with haunting detail. Shimmering mirages hide death, and every shadow could contain movement. The action set pieces are spread strategically throughout the film, each building upon the last in intensity and scale. One standout sequence occurs midway through the movie when Mara's team sets up an ambush in a derelict mining facility. Using flares, decoys, and motion sensors, they try to trap the Predator in a crossfire. But the creature outsmarts them. It uses one of its plasma weapons to overload their sensors, turning their own technology against them. What follows is a breathtakingly choreographed firefight, illuminated only by flashing emergency lights and plasma bursts. The editing is tight and chaotic, yet every frame is deliberate. When the dust settles, only 2 of the team members remain alive. Another unforgettable moment comes later in the film during the river ambush scene, a chilling nod to the original Predator, 1987. Mara, bloodied and weaponless, hides beneath the muddy waters while the Predator stalks above. The audience can see its cloaked silhouette through the ripples, scanning for heat signatures. Mara smears herself with the cold mud to mask her body temperature, a primal trick that saves her life. The camera lingers on her trembling hands, her gasping breaths, and the Predator's mechanical clicking echoing above her. It's a moment of pure survival instinct, a battle between intelligence and raw instinct. What makes the action sequences in Badlands truly exceptional is the emotional grounding behind them. Every fight feels personal. These aren't faceless soldiers dying in the desert. They're people with fears, regrets, and determination. The audience feels their exhaustion, their adrenaline, and their will to live. When Eli Vega sacrifices himself by luring the Predator into a trap with a decoy heat beacon, it's not a throwaway moment. It's an act of defiance. His death isn't glamorous. It's messy, chaotic, and human. That authenticity is what elevates the film beyond simple action spectacle. The Predator's hunting tactics bring a fresh layer of tension. It doesn't just rely on brute force, it toys with its prey, studying human psychology. It plants corpses as bait, mimics human voices through its sound modulators, and sets traps using heat signatures from previous victims. One particularly haunting sequence shows the Predator replaying the screams of dead soldiers through its mask, luring the survivors into an ambush. It's horrifying because it's intelligent. It understands fear and manipulates it with surgical precision. The sound design amplifies this terror. Every mechanical click, every guttural growl, and every rustle of movement is layered to create an atmosphere of inescapable dread. The action sequences often unfold in near silence, broken only by the Predator's distorted breathing. This minimalist approach turns every scene into a sensory experience. You don't just watch the action, you feel it in your chest. Survival, in Predator, Badlands, isn't just physical, it's psychological. The human characters begin to unravel under the constant threat. Sleep deprivation, paranoia, and heat-induced delirium blur their perception of reality. The film cleverly uses these mental breakdowns to explore the idea that fear is humanity's greatest predator. One hallucinatory sequence shows Mara envisioning her dead teammates guiding her through the desert, only for her to realize she's been following the predator's holographic decoys. It's an inventive way to merge survival horror with science fiction, pushing the franchise into deeper thematic territory. The climax of the film delivers an action sequence worthy of the franchise's legacy. Set during a sandstorm at dusk, Mara faces the predator one-on-one. The visibility is almost zero, the environment howling with wind and debris. The predator, relying on its advanced vision modes, believes it holds the advantage. But Mara uses the storm to her benefit. She disables her heat signature using a stolen piece of the predator's armor and moves like a ghost through the storm. What follows is a brutal hand-to-hand duel that strips both hunter and prey to their primal essence. No gadgets, no backup, just survival. When Mara finally impales the predator with its own plasma blade, the victory feels earned, not cinematic. The film's editing style deserves special praise. The action isn't overcut or chaotic. It respects spatial geography. You always know where the characters are, what they're facing, and how the environment interacts with the battle. This clarity allows the tension to build naturally, drawing the viewer deeper into the survival struggle. The decision to use wide, lingering shots rather than shaky close-ups gives the action a sense of realism and grandeur. Every movement feels heavy, every injury consequential. The survival elements also extend beyond combat. The film explores resource scarcity and the brutal reality of the Badlands. Characters fashion makeshift weapons, ration contaminated water, and use animal carcasses to mask their scent. These small details add authenticity to the world. It's not stylized survival, it's desperation, grit, and endurance. Even the predator's technology becomes part of the survival puzzle. Mara and Lena use fragments of its damaged armor to construct signal jammers, symbolizing humanity's adaptability in the face of overwhelming odds. One of the film's most powerful themes is the duality of predator and prey. As the story progresses, Mara begins to mirror the predator's hunting tactics, using the terrain, setting traps, and embracing stealth over aggression. By the end, it's unclear who the real predator is. The transformation is subtle yet profound. Survival requires becoming what you fear most. This moral blurring gives the action weight and emotional depth, transcending typical sci-fi thrills. The closing sequence perfectly encapsulates the film's philosophy of survival. After the predator's defeat, Mara stands atop the ridge watching the sun rise over the wasteland. She's bruised, bloodied, and broken, but alive. In the distance, the sand shifts slightly, hinting at something else beneath the surface. The hunt, it seems, is never truly over. The moment captures the essence of the predator universe. Survival is temporary, and evolution is eternal. Ultimately, Predator, Badlands 2025 succeeds because it treats action not as spectacle but as storytelling. Every gunshot, explosion, and moment of silence serves a purpose. The film reminds us that the thrill of survival isn't in victory, it's in the struggle itself. Through relentless pacing, grounded realism, and emotional resonance, it redefines what action cinema can be. Not just a battle between man and monster, but a confrontation between fear and the will to endure. The heart of Predator, Badlands 2025, beats with one timeless pulse, the brutal primal clash between humanity and the hunter. This is where the franchise has always found its greatest tension. The confrontation between intelligence and instinct, between the fragile and the invincible, between predator and prey. In Badlands, this eternal struggle is elevated to something more intimate, psychological, and apocalyptic. It's not just man versus monster anymore. It's humanity confronting the consequences of its own evolution, reflected in the eyes of an alien that has perfected the art of killing. From the very beginning, the film makes it clear that this isn't a battle humanity is equipped to win. The predator, unlike its predecessors, doesn't hunt for sport or honor. It hunts to learn. Its purpose has evolved, and so has its cruelty. The opening act establishes this in terrifying fashion. The predator doesn't merely kill its victims. It studies them. After wiping out an elite reconnaissance squad, it records their tactics, biometrics, and combat strategies through its biomask interface. Later in the film, these patterns are replicated in its own attacks. It's as if humanity is fighting a mirror image of its worst instincts. This mirror dynamic forms the philosophical backbone of the story. Captain Mara Quinn, the protagonist, slowly realizes that the predator's behavior isn't random. It's strategic. It mimics leadership patterns, It prioritizes the strongest first, and it studies emotional weaknesses. It's a hunter that doesn't just chase flesh. It preys on fear, guilt, and arrogance. In one scene, the predator deliberately spares Mara during an ambush, leaving her alive while killing her team. Later, the characters debate why. Was it mercy or was it curiosity? The answer comes in the film's midpoint, when Mara discovers holographic recordings within the predator's ship. Replays of her previous battles, analyzed and dissected. The creature has been watching her long before she entered the Badlands. The hunt was personal from the start. The human versus predator conflict reaches new depths here because of how the film balances physical combat with psychological warfare. The predator is no longer a distant force. It's ever-present, unseen, but always felt. Characters hear its distorted mimicry over the radio, see flickers of heat signatures on scanners, or find traces of its kills meticulously arranged like trophies. One haunting visual shows the predator mounting the skulls of its victims on weathered poles, not out of pride, but as a form of communication. Each skull represents a message, a warning, a challenge. It's taunting the survivors, forcing them to confront the inevitability of death. Director Dan Trachtenberg uses silence masterfully to escalate this battle. The sound of the wind through canyons, the hum of malfunctioning tech, and the predator's subtle clicking create an atmosphere of dread. The audience feels the tension before the characters do. The creature's intelligence makes every encounter unpredictable. You never know whether it will attack directly or manipulate its prey into self-destruction. One standout moment occurs when Mara's group sets traps using motion sensors and tripwires, only for the predator to use one of the team's corpses to trigger the devices, causing friendly fire. It's a horrifying reminder that humans with all their intellect are still playing by rules the predator can rewrite at will. The film also leans heavily into symbolism. The Badlands themselves represent the barren remains of human ambition, an environment destroyed by greed, mining, and exploitation. Against this backdrop, the predator's presence feels almost judgmental. It's as if nature has sent its perfect assassin to reclaim balance. This theme surfaces in Mara's conversations with Sergeant Lena Ortiz, the medic who questions their mission's morality. "Maybe it's not hunting us," she says. "Maybe it's cleansing us." The line encapsulates the film's deeper message. Humanity, in its obsession with control and dominance, has become its own worst predator. And now, the universe has sent a reflection to show us what we've become. One of the most compelling aspects of this encounter is how both sides adapt. The predator, though superior, isn't infallible. It bleeds, it recalibrates, it hesitates. Moments that remind us even gods can falter. Mara uses these weaknesses to her advantage. When she realizes the predator's vision system relies on multispectral tracking, she manipulates it by using heat flares to overload its sensors, creating phantom targets. In a tense sequence inside a storm-battered canyon, the predator strikes at illusions while Mara circles behind it. It's the first time in the film that humanity gains the upper hand, however briefly. The fight scenes between Mara and the predator are not just brawls. They're character studies through violence. Each blow exchanged carries emotional weight. Mara's fighting style evolves from panic-driven defense to calculated aggression. She learns to anticipate, to use terrain, to control her breathing. Every survival skill honed through loss and fear. The predator, in turn, begins to recognize her as a worthy adversary. By the final act, their conflict transcends hunter and prey. There's almost a mutual respect, a savage understanding that only one of them deserves to exist. The film's midpoint duel, known among fans as the Night of the Hunt sequence, stands out as one of the most intense showdowns in the franchise. Under a blood-red moon, the predator ambushes the survivors in an ancient rock formation that resembles a ritualistic battlefield. The choreography is brutal and raw. Hand-to-hand combat replaces gunfire. Sparks fly as plasma blades clash against steel knives. Mara uses a shard of the predator's own broken gauntlet to pierce its armor, revealing a glimpse of the creature's inner anatomy, a fusion of synthetic muscle and pulsing biocircuitry. It's a visual metaphor for the entire film. Flesh and machine locked in endless combat. As the body count rises, the psychological transformation of Mara mirrors the predator's behavior. Her decisions become colder, her strategies more ruthless. She stops seeing her companions as friends and starts viewing them as tactical assets. In one heartbreaking moment, She leaves an injured soldier behind as bait to lure the predator into a trap. The choice saves the team, but costs her humanity. The line between hunter and hunted blurs completely. By the time she faces the predator in the finale, Mara has become a reflection of it, efficient, merciless, and unflinching. The final confrontation between Mara and the predator encapsulates everything the film has built toward. Taking place amid a massive sandstorm, visibility is near zero. The environment itself becomes a weapon. Both combatants use the wind, sand, and terrain to mask movement and sound. The fight is brutal, silent, and intimate, more like a dance than a battle. When Mara finally gains the upper hand, stabbing the predator through the chest with its own plasma blade, she looks into its eyes and sees not rage, but recognition. The creature places a hand on her shoulder before collapsing, a gesture that blurs the boundary between respect and surrender. Thematically, this final exchange carries enormous weight. The predator's death isn't celebrated. There's no triumphant music, no heroic pose. Instead, the camera lingers on Mara's face, hollow, traumatized, and uncertain. She realizes she hasn't defeated evil. She's become part of it. The creature's dying eyes reflect her image, fractured and distorted through its cracked visor. It's a haunting visual metaphor for humanity's evolution. To survive, we must become the very thing we fear. After the battle, Mara explores the predator's ship, now partially destroyed. Inside, she finds holographic archives, footage of countless worlds, countless hunts. The predator species has been doing this for centuries, not as conquerors, but as observers of evolution. Each hunt records the peak of a species' adaptability before its extinction. Humanity, it seems, is merely the latest test. This revelation reframes the entire film. The predator was never humanity's enemy. It was its judge. The closing moments of Badlands are somber. Mara exits the ship and watches the sunrise over the wasteland. She's the last survivor, but her victory feels hollow. In the distance, the faint hum of another predator ship echoes through the sky. It's not over. It's never over. The cycle continues, as it always has. The final line she whispers to herself. We were never the prey. We were the challenge. Captures the essence of the franchise and the fatal beauty of this human versus predator mythology. In Predator, Badlands, 2025, the encounter between man and hunter transcends simple conflict. It's a confrontation between what we are and what we could become if survival becomes our only purpose. The film doesn't glorify battle. It dissects it, exposing the raw nerve of existence. In the end, both human and predator are victims of the same curse, the instinct to dominate, the hunger to endure. And in that shared struggle lies the film's most powerful truth. The deadliest wars are not fought for power, but for the right to be called alive. For the right to be called alive. From its very first frame, Predator, Badlands, 2025, announces itself as a visual and technical marvel, an evolution of the franchise's gritty aesthetic into something more immersive, painterly, and deeply cinematic. The film's cinematography and visual effects aren't just tools for spectacle. They serve as the narrative's emotional backbone, shaping how we perceive fear, isolation, and survival. Every shadow, flicker of heat, and streak of plasma fire has been meticulously crafted to evoke both awe and dread. It's a film where the camera becomes a participant in the hunt, and the visuals themselves tell a story as primal as the creature it portrays. Cinematographer Greg Fraser, known for his work on Dune and the Batman, brings his mastery of light and texture to Predator Badlands. His approach is grounded in naturalism yet elevated by surreal undertones. Fraser avoids the glossy, overly digital look common in many modern blockbusters. Instead, he embraces a gritty realism that makes every frame feel tactile. The coarse sand of the Badlands, the blistering sunlight, the cold shimmer of the predator's cloaking field. The result is a world that feels both alien and painfully real, a perfect environment for a story that straddles the line between science fiction and primal horror. The film's visual palette shifts dynamically with the story's tone. The opening act drenches the screen in ochres and sun-scorched ambers, evoking a sense of decay and desolation. The Badlands stretch endlessly, cracked earth and petrified trees painting a portrait of a dying world. As the predator's presence grows, the color grading transitions to cooler hues, blues, metallic grays, and deep blacks, signaling the encroachment of something unnatural. In the climactic sequences, the contrast becomes extreme, with bursts of plasma light illuminating dense fog or torrential rain, creating painterly compositions that feel like a collision between nature and machine. Fraser's camera work is unflinchingly intimate. Rather than rely solely on sweeping wide shots of the desert, he often frames his subjects in close, claustrophobic compositions. The audience is forced to breathe alongside the characters, to feel the tension of every shallow inhale as they hide from an invisible hunter. One standout moment occurs when Captain Mara Quinn hides beneath a sand dune. The camera inches from her face as she covers herself with dust. The grain of the image, the sweat, the trembling breath, and it all feels unbearably real. Then, a faint distortion ripples behind her, the predator's shimmering silhouette barely perceptible. The audience sees it before she does, creating a gut-wrenching sense of helplessness. This is visual storytelling at its purest. A signature of Badlands is how it uses heat vision, not just as a predator gimmick, but as a symbolic device. In previous entries, the thermal imaging was a predator's eye view, clinical and detached. Here it's treated as a psychological lens. When the predator observes humans through its thermal vision, the colors distort and bleed, creating surreal, abstract patterns. Flesh becomes molten light and movement looks almost painterly. The filmmakers use this perspective to show how the predator perceives life, not as individuals, but as flickers of energy. It turns death into art, the hunt into ritual. Later in the film, when Mara temporarily hijacks the predator's mask and experiences this perspective herself, the visual distortion conveys a deeper horror. She begins to understand the creature's logic, the cold beauty in its method. The special effects in Predator. Badlands are a seamless fusion of practical and digital artistry. Director Dan Trachtenberg made a conscious effort to return to the tactile authenticity that made the 1987 original so beloved. The Predator suit itself, built by the legendary effects team at ADI, Amalgamated Dynamics Inc., is a masterclass in practical creature design. Layers of organic texture, flexible musculature, and bioluminescent detailing give the alien a terrifying presence on set. The animatronic facial rig allows for micro-expressions, a twitch of the mandible, a narrowing of the eyes, that make the Predator feel alive in ways CGI often fails to capture. However, it's the integration of VFX and cinematography that truly elevates the film. The digital enhancements aren't there to dazzle but to support the realism. For instance, the Predator's cloaking effect has been completely reimagined. Instead of a clean, transparent shimmer, it now manifests as a distorted refraction of light, reacting dynamically to environmental conditions. In heat or sandstorms, the effect wavers and flickers. In rain, droplets briefly reveal the creature's outline before it vanishes again. The illusion feels fragile, almost biological, as if the cloak is a living membrane rather than a piece of tech. It's a subtle detail that adds immeasurable depth to the world building. One of the film's most breathtaking sequences, dubbed The Storm Hunt, perfectly showcases the synergy between practical and digital effects. As a supercell storm engulfs the Badlands, visibility drops to near zero. Lightning splits the sky, illuminating glimpses of the Predator as it leaps between rock formations. The strobing flashes of light turn the scene into a visual rhythm. Strike, shadow, silhouette, vanish. It's both chaotic and hypnotic, a testament to Fraser's control over visual tempo. The use of in-camera lighting effects and controlled strobing rather than full CGI gives the scene a visceral, almost documentary authenticity. You feel the electricity in the air. Equally impressive is the use of miniatures and volumetric lighting for the Predator's ship sequences. Rather than rely solely on computer models, the crew constructed physical-scale models enhanced by digital extensions. The result is a tangible sense of weight and presence, especially during the final act when the ship crashes into a canyon. Dust, debris, and energy discharges interact realistically because they were filmed using real light and real materials. It's a return to old-school craftsmanship blended with cutting-edge innovation. Another standout aspect is the film's use of natural light. Fraser and Trachtenberg often shot during magic hour, capturing the ethereal glow of dawn and dusk. This decision pays off thematically. These are the moments between day and night, between survival and extinction. The visual metaphor is clear. The world is caught between two eras, just as humanity stands between evolution and annihilation. The lens flares, Long shadows and silhouettes against burning skies evoke a sense of melancholy beauty, reminding us that even in destruction, there's grace. The Predator's technology also receives a visual overhaul that complements the film's tone. The HUD, heads-up display sequences have been redesigned to feel less like a sci-fi gadget and more like an extension of the creature's biology. The interface pulses, breathes, and reacts to stimuli in real time. When the Predator locks onto a target, its display contracts like an iris. When it bleeds, the visuals flicker erratically, suggesting pain or system overload. These small, thoughtful touches make the alien's world feel organic and terrifyingly advanced. The sound design and cinematography work hand in hand. In scenes where the Predator is near, the frame tightens and the ambient noise drops to a hum, drawing attention to every footstep, every drop of sweat. Visuals alone don't create fear. It's the way they synchronize with silence and sound. One particular moment, when Mara steps into a cavern and her flashlight flickers across walls painted with ancient Predator symbols, is punctuated by a low, resonant hum. The camera pans slowly, mimicking her heartbeat, until a shadow moves in the corner. It's a masterclass in tension, achieved not by showing the monster but by letting the visuals and sound suggest it. The visual symbolism throughout the film reinforces its themes. The Badlands themselves, cracked, barren, and lifeless, serve as an external reflection of humanity's moral decay. The golden dust storms resemble nuclear fallout, hinting at environmental collapse. The Predator's thermal vision becomes a metaphor for judgment. It sees not who people are but what they're made of. Even the film's final shot, Mara standing in silhouette against a dawn sky, her reflection shimmering faintly like the Predator's cloak, uses visual effects to blur the line between human and alien, prey and predator. What's remarkable is how Predator, Badlands never lets its visual brilliance overshadow its emotional gravity. The film could easily have become a showcase of CGI spectacle, but instead it uses its cinematography and effects to serve the story's soul. The light, shadow, and texture all reinforce the character's psychological states. When Mara loses her team, the color grading drains to near monochrome. When she discovers the Predator's ship, the lighting turns unnatural, cold, sterile, almost surgical. Each visual transition mirrors her internal transformation. By the end of the film, the cinematography has completed its own character arc. What began as wide panoramic landscape slowly narrows into tight, suffocating frames. The world shrinks as Mara's options do. When she finally defeats the Predator, the camera doesn't pull back to show victory. It stays close, focused on her hollow eyes, her reflection glimmering in the cracked visor. The effect is haunting, cinematic poetry in motion. In short, Predator Badlands, 2025, sets a new benchmark for visual storytelling in science fiction and action cinema. Its cinematography and visual effects don't just create a world, they immerse us in its psychology. Every pixel, every beam of light, every distortion of heat contributes to the film's thesis. That beauty and terror are two sides of the same coin. Two sides of the same coin. From the opening hum of wind across the wastelands to the haunting resonance of alien frequencies, Predator, Badlands 2025 uses sound not merely as a complement to its visuals, but as an instrument of dread, an invisible predator that stalks the audience from the first second to the last. The soundtrack and atmospheric design in this film are masterpieces of psychological manipulation, engineered to make every silence, every vibration, and every pulse feel alive. In this world, sound isn't background noise, it's a heartbeat, a warning, and sometimes a scream you never hear until it's too late. The score, composed by Benjamin Wallfisch, stands as one of the film's most distinctive achievements. Known for his ability to blend orchestral gravitas with synthetic tension, Blade Runner 2049, It, Dune Part 2, Wallfisch delivers a sonic landscape that feels both ancient and futuristic, like a primal ritual recorded on alien technology. His approach to Badlands was minimalist yet emotionally devastating. Fewer instruments, more texture. The music breathes, it groans, it pulses like the terrain itself. Every piece of the score feels tied to the environment, making the Badlands not just a setting but a living organism with its own rhythm and fury. The main theme, titled The Hunt Resurrected, opens with a throbbing bass pulse that mimics a heartbeat. Slow, heavy, deliberate, Over this foundation, distorted brass and atonal strings weave in, evoking both the mechanical and the organic. The effect is unsettlingly familiar, a deliberate echo of Alan Silvestri's original Predator theme from 1987, but stretched, warped, and buried under layers of distortion. It's as if the music itself has evolved alongside the creature, more dangerous, more intelligent, more patient. The moment this theme plays during the title sequence, the audience understands that this is not nostalgia. It's resurrection. Wallfish and sound designer Mark Mangini, who previously worked on Mad Max Fury Road and Dune, collaborated to blur the line between score and sound design. Many of the film's musical elements are built from manipulated environmental sounds. Desert winds pitched down into sub-bass growls, metallic clangs transformed into rhythmic percussion, and Predator clicks resampled to form part of the musical tempo. This design choice makes it difficult for viewers to distinguish between diegetic sound, what's happening in the world, and non-diegetic music, the score. That confusion is intentional. It keeps the audience on edge, just as the characters never know whether the predator is near or the land itself is breathing. Throughout the film, the soundscape functions as a living organism. The Badlands hum with unseen frequencies, the wind carrying faint mechanical echoes that suggest the predator's presence even when it's invisible. In one unforgettable sequence, as the survivors trek through a canyon at night, the sound fades until only the hum of the desert remains. Then, almost imperceptibly, a faint clicking begins. It could be insects, could be the predator. The clicks grow louder, layered with echo and reverb until they form a rhythm like a heartbeat. It's not music, but it feels like a symphony of terror. This auditory hallucination builds unbearable tension, culminating in a plasma bolt piercing the darkness. The audience realizes the sound wasn't atmosphere. It was warning. One of the film's most powerful techniques is its use of silence. Modern blockbusters often fill every moment with noise, but Predator, Badlands understands that silence is where fear truly breathes. The filmmakers employ what they called active silence, stretches of near inaudible sound that amplify the audience's awareness. You can hear dust shift, fabric scrape, breath catch. When the predator is near, the silence becomes almost oppressive, as if the air itself refuses to move. It's a brilliant psychological device. The absence of sound becomes the loudest sound of all. The predator's audio signature has been completely reinvented for this film. Gone are the mechanical growls and heavy roars of past iterations. Here, the creature's presence is conveyed through subtle distortions in frequency, like a glitch in the soundscape itself. Its signature click is no longer rhythmic but randomized, often emerging from different directions at once, thanks to spatial audio mixing. In Dolby Atmos, the effect is terrifying. Clicks seem to come from behind you, above you, inside your own skull. Sometimes you hear your own echo before realizing it's the predator mimicking you, one of the film's most chilling uses of sound. The use of surround sound is particularly masterful in the film's second act. During the sandstorm ambush sequence, the survivors are trapped in a storm that blinds their vision, forcing them to rely entirely on hearing. The audio design places viewers directly in their position. Whispers of movement swirl in all directions. Plasma blasts echo and ricochet in impossible ways, and the roar of the wind creates auditory illusions that make it impossible to tell where danger lies. The theater becomes a sensory battlefield. The audience hunts with their ears, not their eyes. It's immersive horror at its finest. The score evolves alongside the narrative, mirroring the character's psychological descent. In the beginning, the music maintains structure. Percussion and rhythm evoke military order and discipline. But as the team is decimated, the structure collapses. The score disintegrates into chaos. Dissonant strings, broken rhythms, and sounds that seem more like screams than instruments. By the final act, when Mara faces the predator alone, the music becomes almost unbearable in its intimacy. A single cello playing a descending motif, layered with whispers of electronic feedback. The melody feels human yet alien, fragile yet eternal. It's as if the music itself is dying alongside the characters. One particularly striking musical piece is Reflection in the Visor. It plays during the final confrontation between Mara and the predator. Rather than thunderous drums or triumphant brass, Wallfish opts for minimalism. Low strings, a single distorted synth note, and the sound of breath processed through reverb. The effect is chilling. It feels like standing inside the predator's head, hearing the world the way it does. When Mara delivers the killing blow, the music doesn't rise. It falls, descending into near silence as the predator's heartbeat fades. The choice subverts traditional action movie scoring and replaces triumph with tragedy. Beyond the score, Predator, Badlands uses environmental sound to define space and emotion. The howling winds of the Badlands vary in tone depending on the emotional intensity of the scene. When the characters are hopeful, the wind carries warmth and resonance. When fear takes over, it shifts to a sharp, high-pitched drone. It's as if the land itself reacts to human emotion. The film's sound editors even designed different acoustic signatures for each terrain. Sand muffles sound completely. Rock amplifies it. Metal reflects it. This attention to sonic geography immerses the viewer in the landscape's hostility. There's also an ethereal motif tied to the predator's technology, a mix of alien frequencies and organic noises that sound like breathing and electricity fused together. These sounds play subtly whenever the creature interacts with its weapons or ship. Wallfish created these tones using hydrophone recordings, microphones placed underwater, of metallic objects vibrating, which were then slowed down and processed through granular synthesis. The result is hauntingly beautiful, a sound that feels ancient and advanced at once, something both mechanical and alive. What makes the film's sound design exceptional is its emotional precision. Every sound has purpose. When Mara loses a teammate, the distant echo of a dying radio call blends into the score. When she hides beneath the sand, her heartbeat syncs with the low-frequency rumble of the desert. Even the predator's thermal vision sequences have their own sonic identity, a low, droning hum that subtly modulates with the creature's focus. These choices make the audience experience the story on a subconscious level, not just watching or hearing, but feeling it. In theaters equipped with Dolby Atmos, the film becomes a full-body experience. Subwoofers throb like pulse monitors during tense scenes, while high-frequency tones drift above the audience to create unease. Viewers have reported feeling physical discomfort during the quieter moments, a deliberate tactic by the filmmakers to replicate the claustrophobia of being hunted. The sound isn't there to entertain, it's there to trap you. The end credits track, titled Extinction Light, serves as an epilogue in sound. It begins with the familiar Predator theme in faint, distorted fragments, almost unrecognizable as if decaying. Gradually, a human choir emerges, singing wordless tones that sound like a funeral hymn. The track fades not with resolution but with echo, a reminder that the hunt never truly ends. It's one of those rare endings where the music leaves you haunted long after the screen fades to black. Ultimately, the soundtrack and atmosphere of fear and Predator, Badlands, are the film's soul. The visuals may show the monster, but the sound makes you believe it's real. Every rustle, every whisper, every unnatural silence transforms the film into an experience that bypasses logic and goes straight to instinct. It awakens something primal, the part of the human brain that still listens for predators in the dark. By merging experimental sound design with emotional storytelling, Predator, Badlands doesn't just set a new benchmark for sci-fi horror audio, it redefines how fear can be heard. The direction and screenplay of Predator Badlands 2025 represent a bold and confident evolution of the Predator franchise, a reinvention that merges high-concept storytelling with raw survival horror. Under the skilled direction of Dan Trachtenberg, who previously revived the alien horror genre with 10 Cloverfield Lane and the prequel Prey, 2022, this installment proves that intelligence, restraint, and visual storytelling can breathe fresh life into a decades-old monster mythos. Badlands is not just another predator hunt. It's an intricate study of fear, morality, and adaptation told through a meticulously crafted screenplay, and a director who understands that suspense is born from what you don't see as much as what you do. From the outset, Trachtenberg's directional philosophy is clear: to strip the story down to its primal elements while amplifying the emotional and psychological core. Gone are the overstuffed ensembles and military excesses of some previous entries. Badlands focuses on a small, tightly knit group of characters whose every decision has consequences. The film's pacing is deliberate, a slow burn that builds tension through anticipation and silence. Trachtenberg avoids the modern action horror tendency to overwhelm the audience with spectacle. Instead, he crafts atmosphere and character depth that make every moment of violence hit harder. The screenplay, co-written by Trachtenberg and screenwriter Patrick Eisen, blends minimalist storytelling with thematic sophistication. Each line of dialogue is purposeful, either revealing character, foreshadowing danger, or deepening the philosophical undercurrents. There's a poetic simplicity to the writing, one that mirrors the film's brutal setting. Rather than spelling out motivations, the script lets gestures, glances, and pauses do the heavy lifting. For instance, when Captain Mara Quinn first discovers the mutilated remains of her squad, she doesn't speak. Instead, the camera lingers on her trembling hands, and a single broken breath replaces dialogue. This kind of visual writing, emotion conveyed through silence, defines the screenplay's style. Trachtenberg's direction also excels in how it manipulates perspective. The film constantly shifts between human and predator viewpoints, but not in the usual gimmicky sense. Instead, these transitions are narrative statements. The predator's thermal vision sequences are not just stylistic flourishes, they're storytelling tools. Through these shifts, the audience is forced to see humans the way the predator does, as energy, as patterns, as prey. Conversely, when the predator is glimpsed through human eyes, the camera trembles, the focus slips, and reality itself feels distorted. This constant oscillation between hunter and hunted creates a psychological disorientation that mirrors the character's terror. The tone of the screenplay walks a razor's edge between philosophical and visceral. It never forgets its genre roots. It's still an action horror movie filled with thrilling hunts and explosive set pieces. But beneath the carnage lies a meditation on survival and evolution. The dialogue often reflects this duality. Characters debate not just how to survive, but why they deserve to. In one pivotal exchange, Sergeant Lena Ortiz remarks, "Predators hunt what's changing. Maybe that's why it's after us. We stopped being what we were supposed to be." That line encapsulates the script's worldview. Humanity's moral decay has made it a target not for punishment, but for evaluation. The structure of the screenplay follows a three-act design, but Trachtenberg and Eisen play with pacing and tension within that framework. The first act establishes mystery and unease. The team arrives in the desolate Badlands searching for missing scientists, unaware that they're entering a hunting ground. The second act escalates into survival horror, as the predator picks them off one by one, each kill revealing something new about the creature's tactics and technology. The third act delivers the inevitable confrontation, but subverts expectations by focusing not on victory, but on transformation of the protagonist, of humanity, and of the predator mythos itself. What sets this screenplay apart is its character-centric approach. Captain Mara Quinn is one of the most fully realized protagonists in the franchise's history. She's neither the invincible soldier archetype nor the helpless victim. Instead, she's complex, traumatized, calculating, morally conflicted. Her arc is carefully constructed through the screenplay's pacing and dialogue. Early on, she clings to military protocol. By the film's end, she's discarded every rule in favor of primal instinct. The script uses her evolution as a reflection of humanity's adaptability, that to survive the predator, one must become one. Trachtenberg's direction of performances complements this perfectly. He draws grounded, emotionally honest performances from his cast, particularly from the lead, who portrays Mara with equal parts vulnerability and ferocity. Trachtenberg understands that the key to great horror is empathy. By making us care deeply about the characters before they're placed in mortal danger, every kill, every loss, and every scream resonates. The audience doesn't just watch fear, they feel it. Another hallmark of the direction and screenplay is the balance between realism and myth. The Badlands are filmed with the stark beauty of a nature documentary, yet the story feels mythic, an ancient ritual of predator and prey played out on a cosmic scale. The screenplay often hints at larger lore through subtle details rather than exposition. For example, carved predator symbols on canyon walls imply previous hunts spanning centuries. These touches expand the universe without bogging down the pacing or breaking the claustrophobic tension. Trachtenberg also employs spatial storytelling with surgical precision. Every location, from sun-scorched plateaus to the claustrophobic interiors of the predator's ship, is designed to tell a story. The screenplay describes environments not just as settings but as psychological states. When the survivors hide in an abandoned research station, the flickering fluorescent lights mimic their unstable mental condition. When Mara enters the Predator's ship, the silence and geometric symmetry reflect the alien's cold, methodical logic. This meticulous attention to visual and environmental storytelling transforms each set piece into a character of its own. The dialogue throughout the film avoids the clichés of the genre. There are no quippy one-liners or forced heroics. Instead, the writing favors realism, terse exchanges, interrupted sentences, and emotional rawness. When Mara gives orders, they're half whispers, not shouted commands. When someone dies, there's no melodramatic speech, just stunned silence or a muted cry. This grounded dialogue style keeps the film anchored in believability, even as the story ventures into science fiction. One of the screenplay's most striking achievements is how it builds tension through rhythm. Trachtenberg treats each scene like a symphony, alternating between quiet, slow moments and bursts of violence. This rhythm keeps the audience in a constant state of unease, never allowing comfort or predictability. For example, in one sequence, the survivors believe they've trapped the predator using motion sensors and explosives. The pacing slows, the characters breathe for the first time, and then, in one chilling instant, everything unravels. The predator has been observing their movements, anticipating their plan. The explosion doesn't harm it. It exposes them. The rhythm collapses into chaos. This kind of screenplay timing shows masterful control over audience emotion. Trachtenberg's camera direction complements this rhythm. He prefers long takes and deliberate camera movement to maintain immersion. Rather than cutting rapidly during action scenes, he lets the camera linger, forcing the audience to experience the danger in real time. This approach mirrors the predator's own perception: patient, calculating, unflinching. Even when chaos erupts, the cinematography remains clear and intentional, emphasizing geography and physicality. You always know where the characters are, how close the danger is, and how fragile their safety feels. The screenplay's subtext also explores deeper human themes: evolution, morality, and the cost of survival. The predator in this narrative becomes more than a monster. It's a metaphor for nature's judgment. The screenplay uses dialogue and action to explore this concept subtly. When Mara discovers that the predator's ship contains recordings of multiple species' last hunts, it reframes the creature's role not as a killer, but as an observer of extinction. This revelation ties back to the screenplay's recurring motif of reflection, humans seeing themselves through the predator's gaze. The final act of the film is a showcase of both directorial restraint and screenplay precision. The climax, Mara's duel with the predator in the heart of a sandstorm, is written and directed like a ritual. Dialogue vanishes entirely. The fight unfolds as a visual poem of violence, silence, and motion. Every strike, every breath is choreographed to reflect their shared instincts. The screenplay's final pages reportedly contained almost no dialogue at all, relying instead on pure cinematic storytelling. When the confrontation ends and Mara looks into the predator's dying eyes, it's not victory she sees, it's understanding. This emotional ambiguity is the mark of a confident screenplay that trusts its audience to think. Trachtenberg's editing choices also play into this philosophy. The pacing is tight but never rushed. The director avoids over-explaining. Scenes linger just long enough to leave a mark, then cut away, leaving the audience to fill in emotional blanks. At its core, Predator Badlands 2025 is not just a science fiction action thriller. It is a profound exploration of what it truly means to survive, and what humanity becomes when stripped of civilization's comforts. Beneath the gunfire, the alien hunts, and the brutal landscapes lies a deeper philosophical question. Is survival an act of strength or a surrender of humanity? This question runs like a pulse through every scene, every choice, and every death. The movie doesn't just depict survival as endurance, it treats it as transformation. The film opens with a grim reminder that humanity has always been its own predator. The soldiers and scientists sent into the desolate American Badlands are not noble explorers. They're remnants of a collapsing world. Drought, war, and ecological decay have turned the Earth into a wasteland. In this context, survival has lost its moral purity. It is no longer about preserving life, but about sustaining dominance. This setting mirrors the film's central conflict. Humans and predators are reflections of each other. Both evolved hunters. Both obsessed with conquest. Both haunted by extinction. From the first act, survival is presented as instinct versus morality. The protagonist, Captain Mara Quinn represents the thin line between the two. Her mission begins with duty, to recover a missing research team, but quickly devolves into a primal fight for life. At first, she clings to rules and protocols. She believes that structure will protect her team. But as the predator begins its methodical hunt, she learns that survival demands something far older and darker than strategy. It demands surrender to instinct. Her arc is a gradual shedding of identity, soldier, leader, human, replaced by something raw and animalistic. This dehumanization of survival is one of the film's most powerful themes. The screenplay constantly forces Mara to make impossible moral choices. In one haunting scene, she must decide whether to save a wounded comrade or stay silent to avoid detection. Her hesitation lasts seconds, but it seals the soldier's fate. The predator's blade cuts through the darkness, and Mara's silence becomes both her salvation and her curse. That moment captures the film's thesis. Survival always costs something human. As the story unfolds, the predator itself becomes a mirror, not merely an antagonist, but a symbol of nature's cold logic. Unlike humans, it doesn't kill for greed or revenge. It kills to test strength, to observe evolution. The creature is both terrifying and strangely pure. Through this lens, the film invites the audience to question who the real predator is. Humanity, after all, has hunted its own planet to exhaustion. The Badlands are not the predator's doing. They are the result of human consumption. In one brief but chilling dialogue, a scientist mutters, "We turned the Earth into a feeding ground long before they arrived." That line lingers, recontextualizing the alien as a cosmic auditor, a force sent to measure whether humanity deserves to continue. The film's philosophical weight lies in how it treats survival not as victory but as revelation. When stripped of civilization, the characters rediscover truths long buried, that compassion is fragile, fear is primal, and strength alone cannot define life's worth. Each survivor faces a moral breaking point, when fighting for life becomes indistinguishable from becoming monstrous. The screenplay doesn't offer easy answers. Instead, it forces the audience to confront an uncomfortable truth. Maybe to survive is to lose something irreplaceable. Throughout the second act, Badlands transforms the familiar predator formula, the hunter-hunted dynamic, into a study of evolution. Humanity's advantage has always been intelligence and technology, yet in the Badlands both fail. Drones malfunction in the heat, bullets can't penetrate alien armor, and strategies crumble before the predator's cunning. What remains is instinct, the same primal awareness the species buried beneath centuries of progress. The more Mara and her team rely on their senses, on silence, on movement, the more they resemble the creature stalking them. It's a chilling inversion, humanity surviving by mimicking its predator. Trachtenberg's direction enhances this theme through visual storytelling. The further into the desert the survivors go, the less human the imagery becomes. Early scenes show orderly camps, maps, and communication devices, symbols of civilization. As the film progresses, those vanish. The survivors smear dust on their faces, hunt with improvised weapons, and move silently through the dunes like shadows. The line between human and animal erodes visually, long before it does psychologically. By the final act, when Mara faces the predator alone, she has shed every trace of her former self. Her uniform is torn away, her radio discarded. What's left is a figure of raw will, not a soldier, not a victim, but a creature reborn. This devolution serves a paradoxical truth. To rediscover humanity, one must first lose it. The screenplay uses Mara's transformation to explore the idea that survival, at its purest, is not about dominance, but about understanding one's place in nature. In her final confrontation with the predator, there's no hatred, no vengeance, only recognition. She sees herself reflected in its relentless drive. The battle becomes symbolic, not man versus monster, but instinct versus conscience. When she defeats it, she doesn't celebrate. She collapses exhausted, sobbing not out of triumph but out of awareness. Survival has given her life, but taken her soul. The film's supporting characters embody different philosophical stances on survival. Sergeant Lena Ortiz believes survival is about defiance, the will to fight even when doomed. She dies protecting another, symbolizing humanity's capacity for sacrifice. Dr. Haynes, the team's biologist, views survival through science, understanding the predator as a biological marvel. His intellectual curiosity blinds him to danger, leading to his downfall. And Private Cole, the youngest member, represents hope, a belief that survival is still tied to compassion. His death marks the film's emotional midpoint, shattering the illusion that innocence can endure in a world ruled by predators. Through these contrasting viewpoints, the film creates a philosophical mosaic of what staying alive truly means. One of the movie's most poignant motifs is silence. In Predator, Badlands, silence is both weapon and metaphor. The survivors learn that sound draws death, so they communicate through gestures and glances. This enforced silence mirrors humanity's existential silence before the universe, an acknowledgement of its insignificance. The Badlands become a cathedral of quiet where every whisper can summon death. The stillness amplifies fear but also reflection. It is in this silence that characters find fleeting moments of connection, holding hands, sharing a glance, understanding without words. In a world where noise meant life, silence now becomes survival. The theme of survival as evolution extends beyond biology. It touches on moral and emotional adaptation. The film suggests that survival isn't just physical endurance, but the ability to evolve emotionally, to accept change, loss, and transformation. When Mara finally kills the predator, she doesn't feel relief. Instead, she looks around the desolate landscape and realizes the hunt will continue, by nature, by time, by entropy. The true predator is existence itself. Her victory means nothing in the grand scale of things, and that awareness becomes the final evolution of her consciousness. This existential layer gives Predator, Badlands, an almost mythic resonance. The Badlands, scorched and empty, serve as a metaphor for humanity's spiritual barrenness. The Predator, the perfect hunter, becomes an emissary of truth, a reminder that nature always reclaims what is unworthy. Yet within this nihilism, the film plants a fragile seed of hope. In one of its final images, Mara buries a fallen teammate beneath a stone cairn. The act is futile, the storm will erase it, but it is deeply human. It symbolizes the small, stubborn flame of compassion that persists even when all else burns away. The cinematography reinforces these themes through stark contrasts. The blinding desert sun symbolizes exposure, the stripping away of illusion. The night sequences, lit only by flickering embers or the predator's glowing sensors, represent the thin line between life and oblivion. Each frame is a meditation on survival's aesthetic, beautiful, brutal, and tragic. Even the predator's design evolves to match the theme. This version is leaner, scarred, and more primal, a hunter that has adapted to Earth's harshest conditions. Its armor is pieced together from scavenged metal, its weapons fused from organic material. It too has evolved. This visual evolution parallels Mara's, both hunter and hunted adapting beyond recognition. By the film's end, the predator's death feels less like defeat and more like natural succession, the torch of survival passing from one apex being to another. The final moments of Predator. Badlands tie every thematic strand into a haunting resolution. As Mara stumbles through the storm, bloodied and half-blind, she whispers a line that echoes the film's message. We all hunt something, even if it's just tomorrow. It's a simple statement, but it encapsulates the entire journey. Survival, the film argues, is not glory. It's not evolution or destiny. It's persistence, the refusal to stop even when meaning is lost. Through this lens, Predator. Badlands becomes a mirror not just for its characters, but for its audience. It asks, what would we become if civilization fell away? What remains when language, morality, and purpose are gone? Would we fight for life or simply out of habit?